welcome to TV Talk with Natasha and Kim. I'm Kim, that is Natasha, and today we are going to go over the newest episode of Grimm. So, Natasha, go ahead and give us a little recap of what happened on this new episode of Grimm.
Okay, I want to start off saying that I did enjoy the episode, El Cucuy. It starts off with the gas station. This gas attendant gets robbed, and the news and the guy gets really hurt. And so the news people are like reporting it, and then you see this like claw on this chair, and it's like scratching the chair. And that's how that rolls. So next you go to the house. Nick is home, and Juliet's like, what is up with this email? And he explains, okay, it's from my mom. I am so glad they got that out of the way from the jump, so there was no like extra investigating on Juliet's part. I'm very glad. So Juliet's happy. She's happy to investigate to figure out what's happening with his mom. So Nick and Hank get called actually to another robbery with the same two robbers that robbed the gas station. And the next thing you know, after they check out the robbery, the two guys that robbed the place get killed. They get slashed. Their throat gets slashed, and they get tore up by this mysterious creature. So again, Hank and Nick are assigned to the case. Wu, of course, is there, being cool. They figure out that the two people that got killed by El Cucuy are the same people that robbed the convenience store. So they're trying to, question the witnesses, and they're not really getting anywhere. And so in the meantime, there's this guy named Flores that's like kind of talking at the police. Is like, well, you need to be doing something. This neighborhood's bad, you need to be doing something. So there's another, crime that takes place. This woman, gets off the bus, she's walking alone. Two guys are like following her. She notices the one guy, but then he goes off in another direction, so she's like, okay, I'm cool. And then all of a sudden she starts to get assaulted, and then El Cucuy saves the day again. And so she kind of sees El Cucuy in the shadows tearing up this guy that tried to assault her. And so when Nick and Hank actually question her, she's like, I'm not sure what I saw, but the closest thing that I can come up with is El Cucuy. Now, in the meantime, they at first thought that dogs were involved with killing the two robbers. And they noticed that there's this one guy in the neighborhood that owns dogs. He's pretty much a bad dude named Bolton. Well, we figure out he's also Wesson, and he actually attacks Nick and doesn't care that he's a Grimm. And he's like, okay, this is weird. And so Nick and Hank and the Scooby Gang are at Monroe's house having dinner, and so they figure out who the Wesson is, who they tried to take away his dogs, and he's like, no, you are not taking away my dogs. And so he's a volunteer, and apparently they're really dumb, and they're jerkwads, and Neanderthal like jerkwads. That's how Rosalie described them. And, seeing them around having dinner and discussing the case with gross pictures was very interesting, I have to say. So, so they go, they're still investigating, they're still trying to figure out what is this creature, is it a vigilante Wesson? They're kind of figuring that out. In the meantime, Bolton gets released because the woman being assaulted and the two robbers are not connected, so they have to let Bolton go. And so Flores, who lives nearby Bolton, is like, threatening him, and Bolton's like beats him up a little bit. And apparently Flores is a Marine, and I thought at first that Flores was El Cucuy, but I was wrong. Near the end, the Flores starts to attack Bolton again in his house, and Bolton's like tells his cronies to I'll take care of this. He Volgas and beats up Flores, And in the meantime, Nick and Hank revisit their security video from the bus from the woman that got attacked, and they figure out that a little old lady that also shopped at the store that got robbed was also on the bus, and they thought, well, maybe she'll know something. So they pick her up, and then on the way, of course, they hear about Flores, getting attacked by Bolton attacking him, whatever. So they go there, and they have Miss Garcia, that's the old lady, in the car with them. So they're like, okay, we got to stop by this place and try to take care of things. She's like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. So then they go to the house, they, break things off, and Flores is hurt, and so they try and take him to the car, and then they realize Miss Garcia is not there. So then they hear a scream in the house, because Bolton's mean and he's a criminal. So Nick goes in and sees El Cucuy, and the El Cucuy Volga's back into Miss Garcia. What? Out of anything, I did not expect a little old lady. Oh, I did forget to mention that they figured out about El Cucuy because again, the witness mentioned it, and so they figure, okay, well, Juliet may be of help because she has, a Hispanic background, and so they visit Pilar, who has been featured in several episodes, like in season 2, and so she told a story about El Cucuy, and that El Cucuy hears the cries of the women that are being, they need help, like there's evil, and so El Cucuy takes care of business. So El Cucuy goes to that, little town that, hears, several of the women crying, my husband's dead, get the killer, I need justice. And El Cucuy handles it and, is like the vigilante Weston of, the Western world. So the little old lady, Miss Garcia, she's at the police station, right, after everything went down with Bolton getting slashed with his throat and everything. And she's like, nah, you don't think, people are not going to believe that little old me is capable of this crime. And also, I was trying to help out the victim after hearing some screaming. And Nick, Hank, and even Captain Renard was like, they just had this look on their face like, oh my gosh. And it was like, are you kidding? So that's pretty... Oh, and the episode ends with this poor mugger mugs Mrs. Garcia because, of course, Nick and Hank had to let her go. They really didn't have anything on her. And that was a mistake on that mugger's part because Garcia started switching into El Cucuy and was like, oh, yeah, hunting again. So that's where we are with that.
Right. That was a good recap of the episode.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about... Well, Adeline was in the episode, briefly.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about her, remember? Not until she gets her powers back. So, Adeline was in the episode.
Well, in regards to Renard, I only said that she was in the episode. That's all I was going to mention.
Yeah. The episode to me was definitely... I feel like it was targeted to just kind of highlight different... creatures from different cultures, which I like the idea of them doing, but I think this episode was a little more disjointed than some of the others. I know they did a similar episode, and Pilar, they did 2 similar episodes of this where there was not an actual Vesson, but it was a mythological creature kind of, or like a ghost story. They did 2 other episodes like that. Pilar was in both of them, believe it or not. One was on the Weeping Woman, and I don't remember what her name. I think it was like Lara or something like that. I don't remember what the name was in Spanish, but it was the Weeping Woman episode, and I believe it was on Halloween. It was like a Halloween episode, and it was actually a really good episode because they kind of tied it more into Grimm because he could research it, and his family had run across that Weeping Woman before. And so I like that tie-in with Grimm more. This episode didn't really tie into anything Grimm-wise. It didn't explain if he was the only person that could see it, which wouldn't make sense because she wasn't a Wesson. So Wesen. I keep saying Wesen, but the W is a V in German language, so Wesen. But it didn't really say if he was the only one that can see it. I know she recognized what he was, but in theory, everybody should be able to see her change like that. Because she wasn't Wesen, she was something else. So that kind of, I don't know, it's kind of disjointed for me. And I blame M. Night Shyamalan for ruining every movie or TV show that I see moving forward, because he did a movie called The Lady in the Water where he explains how you figure out things that happen in movies. And so I pegged that lady as El Cucuy, like, right off the bat. And so, I don't know, it was just kind of blah for me. But I do like that they are bringing in creatures from different cultures. I think that's really cool, and they should continue doing that. But they should probably try to tie it in more to the Grimm. I liked how like you mentioned. I like how Juliet right off the bat said she found an email, and this was the email, and he explains to her that his mother showed up. I like that she specifically mentioned when they were talking that, oh, so this is genetic. I'm sure that's going to come up later, because of course if they were to ever have kids, the chances of that kid being a Grimm are pretty high. So that would be a topic of discussion later. I'm not going to mention what's her face because she doesn't have her powers back, so we're not going to mention her. I'm going to move on to the next thing. I like the domestication of Monroe and Rosalie. It's so cute. He was all doing Pilates on his Pilates machine, and she was answering the phone, and his mother was all surprised he had a girlfriend. It was cute. So I really like that. They're like this little homemaker couple. It's so adorable. They were all eating dinner together and like bonding, even though you're right, it was disgusting. They were looking at pictures.
And they were just eating like it was nothing.
But they were entertaining, like a normal couple. So it was really, really cute. I thought it was an okay episode. I would like that tie-in more to Grimm. I would have liked them to explain. If Hank saw her, then I would have been like, oh, okay. That makes sense, but I'm like, is it he's the only one that can see her, but he's a Grimm, she's not a Wesen, I don't know. And I do think, to their credit, if it wasn't for M. Night Shyamalan, I probably wouldn't have gotten that, and it would have been a cute little twist. But darn you, M. Night, darn you.
Well, when I actually started the episode, I didn't see the very beginning at first, and I live tweeted, Grimm, because I do that every week on the East Coast, and I did actually tweet as the Nerd Element this week. Yeah, I usually tweet as WillCat12, but so I didn't really see that part of it. I only saw like after they found the two bodies of the robbers, so unfortunately I didn't really connect it. I thought it was Flores from that point. I didn't even see the old lady until later on in the episode, so that's why I initially thought it was Flores. But I did rewatch the episode, and that's when I'm like, okay, that was totally obvious.
Yeah, they did spend a little too much time on her at the grocery store right off the bat, and I was like, she's important. I don't know why yet, but she's important. I did like they threw in Flores. Because it kind of makes you second guess, but he was a little too obvious. And then I'm not understanding what his purpose was. And that's the other thing what I mean about disjointed. I'm like, did they throw him in specifically to get you off the scent of her? Because that's what it felt like. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that, but
I think they needed to tie in the crime that's going on in that particular neighborhood, because the store was in the neighborhood. The lady that got assaulted was in the neighborhood. I'm assuming the gas station was in the neighborhood, and he's a soldier, he has PSTD, and he's concerned about, the people that are in where he lives, and he wants to make sure that it's safe for everybody. That's one of the reasons why El Cucuy came in the first place. She heard the prayer of the woman of this, the gas attendant, and it kind of went on from there. So I don't know. Maybe it was just a tie-in to that.
Like I said, it was an okay episode. What is with Juliet? And I'm trying to remember. And this was back for the Weeping Widow episode with the lady, the ghost. And that's the first time you see Juliet speak Spanish. And I'm like, She speaks fluent Spanish. Did they ever say where she's from or where she got that from? She seems like she grew up around Pilar. They have some sort of family bond, I feel like. But I can't remember the episode because it was in the second season. Do you remember what they said?
I think with the case, one of the family members of Pilar was involved somehow. I think it was like his son, and then like the granddaughter or the grandson was missing. Because the Weeping Willow was taking the kids, I think. She got involved in the case because she was interpreting because they spoke Spanish.
Yeah, they should find a way to bring her into the shows because you kind of wonder about her in general. It's what is she? She knows a little too much to be your average like civilian. So
yeah,
exactly. She was briefly in another episode where she was giving Juliet tea for like to help her with her memory and whatnot, and it was the other episode where there was not a Vessin, but it was like a volcano type creature that wanted to destroy Portland. So I think some of the things that she says are really interesting, and I like that character. You know me, I'm all about character development, and I would like to see her in a couple more episodes because I want to know what she is. I'm not saying she's not human because I think she is, but she is not your average person. So
well, actually I did tweet that I enjoyed listening to her stories, and she did tweet us back, so I'm like, yay,
that's pretty cool.
We're getting there, guys, we're getting there.
Right. Like I said, I love them incorporating stories from different cultures, just not Grimm, and I think you have to do that because eventually you are going to run out of characters in the Grimm fairy tales. So, and it gets other people involved that might not necessarily watch Grimm, but like might hear of a folk story that they were told as a child, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna watch this because I want to see their spin on it or whatnot. So, and then they see that the episode is really, really interesting, and then they keep watching the show. So it's a very good idea to do that. Yay, Grimm makers, Grimm TV show makers.
And just the fact that Monroe and Rosalie have not even remotely told their parents that they moved in together. In fact, Monroe's mom was like, wait, you have a girlfriend? So they're definitely leading up to something like that. And the fact that they're different Vessin from the jump. Because I'm thinking his mom is expecting another blue bite. Yeah, and he's going to be surprised that it's a Fushbow.
They definitely left that up, and you kind of wonder what it is about their parents that they both felt the need not to mention each other because moving in with somebody is kind of a big deal. So I'm going to bring it up. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like they agreed to wait. I'm like, alrighty, what's up with that?
Yeah, and he didn't seem really comfortable talking to his mother anyway, so I'm like, But she seemed like a sweet old lady on the phone.
Yeah, on the phone.
But then so did that El Cucuy. She seemed like a sweet old lady too, and we know that's not the case.
You know what? I hope they come back with El Cucuy because El Cucuy is... I like El Cucuy.
Yeah. And they said she was a 75-year-old lady, and she's basically like so.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, okay.
Again, that meant that line was priceless, and then she kept on hearing... the cries of, the different women are crying for her help, so she's on the move again. She has to go. She has to take care of business.
Yeah, and that part with the lady walking alone in an alley, we all know, women all know better. Like, we don't do that.
No.
We don't.
I think she was trying to avoid the guy and hopefully he'll go in a different direction, which he did, but she didn't notice that there was another guy that got off the bus that maybe wanted to do something. So, I mean, I don't know.
You just don't walk down dark alleys after, you don't do that.
It wasn't really a dark alley. It was actually near a construction site. In fact, I thought I saw a building not too far from where she was trying to walk, but it was probably abandoned. Yeah.
There's nobody around, and it wasn't well lit. Like, warning lights should go off in your head. We're raised from birth, guys out there that you probably aren't. We're raised not to do that. Well, I'm glad you really liked the episode. I liked it too. I kind of figured it out. We'll have some specials, guys, coming up for TV Talk with Natasha and Kim. We're going to do some specials on some other shows, so look for that. But if you guys have any comments or whatnot about this show, this episode, or any episodes of Grimm, go ahead and leave it in the comments, or go ahead and tweet us. I'm at anime23. That's ANIME23. We're both at the Nerd Element. And Natasha?
At Willcat12, WILLCAT12.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.